I've always been the responsible one. It wasn't even a question. While my friends were out partying, I was grinding through college, balancing part-time jobs, trying to get ahead. When I finally got my civil engineering degree, I didn't just walk into a job. I earned it. I put in the hours, the sweat, the stress. And now, at 30, I'm financially independent, solid career, no debt, no excuses. My little brother Jake, though, he's a different story. Jake's 26, still living at home, drifting between jobs, and bouncing from one new hobby to the next. Every few months, there's a new tech gadget, a new car, expensive clothes, you name it. But he never sticks with anything long enough to actually get anywhere. Mom and Dad, of course, think it's all fine. He's trying, they say. He's figuring it out. Meanwhile, I'm the one who ends up bailing him out when things go south. I'd been hearing it from them for years. Mark, why can't you be more like Jake? They don't see what I see. They don't see how I'm the one cleaning up his messes, picking up the pieces while he just floats through life. But I never said much. I didn't want to rock the boat. I've always been the one to hold it together, to make sure everything runs smoothly, even when I'm the one left with nothing. Then, a few days ago, Jake calls me out of the blue. I'm in the middle of a meeting at work, but I answer because it's Jake, and when he calls, something's usually up. He says he needs $20,000. At first, I thought he was joking. That's the kind of thing he does, throws out ridiculous requests, then laughs it off when you call him on it. But no, he's serious. He says it's for a can't-miss business opportunity. I almost laughed. He's had so many can't-miss opportunities that have ended with him losing money, crashing out, and somehow walking away still expecting more. I told him no, flat out. I told him I couldn't risk my hard-earned money on some half-baked idea of his. I wasn't about to watch him blow it all again. He was quiet for a second, then hit me with the classic line, "I thought you were family." That pissed me off. I could feel my blood start to boil, but I kept it together, told him again I wasn't giving him anything. Then he hung up on me. Later that day, Mom calls. She's frantic, pleading with me, calling me selfish, reminding me that Jake's trying to do better. I tell her again, I can't help him. She doesn't get it. She just tells me I need to understand that Jake's struggling, that family is supposed to help each other out. She guilt trips me like only a mom can. I couldn't take it. I was furious. I've been carrying this family for years, and every time Jake screws up, I'm the one expected to fix it. I said no, and yet here they were, making me feel like the bad guy. It wasn't right, but I didn't give in. I wasn't going to. Not this time. I let the phone go silent for a moment, staring at the screen. I couldn't believe what I'd just heard. $20,000. For what? A can't-miss business opportunity? Jake had said the same thing when he lost thousands on that failed online store a couple years ago. I'd watched him burn through cash like it was Monopoly money, and I wasn't about to let him do it again. Jake, I said, taking a slow breath, trying to keep my voice level. I can't do that. I've worked too hard for my money. You've done this before, remember? That online thing you tried last year? You lost a ton of money. I can't risk it. He was quiet for a few seconds. Then, like it was a knife twist, he said, I thought you were family. I didn't know how to respond. He'd pulled that card before, and it always felt like a cheap shot. A way to make me feel like an asshole for not giving in. But I wasn't about to fall for it this time. Yeah, Jake, and family doesn't just throw away money on bad ideas. I shot back. I'm not doing this. He didn't say anything else. Just hung up. That was it. He didn't even argue. The line went dead in my ear, leaving nothing but static and that sickening feeling of being sucker punched emotionally. I sat there for a moment, letting my anger settle. Of course he'd pull the family card. It was what he did best, but I wasn't going to let it work on me anymore. I'd been walking on eggshells around him for years, always giving in, always trying to keep the peace. Not anymore. Then, my phone buzzed again, and I saw it was Mom. Mark, she started, her voice already heavy with that tone of hers, the one that always made me feel like I was the problem. You need to reconsider what you said to Jake. He's really trying. I can tell. He's been working on this idea for weeks. And No, Mom. I cut her off. I wasn't in the mood to hear it. I can't keep doing this. I can't just hand him money every time he calls with some great opportunity. He's not learning anything. He's never going to figure it out if we keep bailing him out. Mark, she sighed. I know you think he's lazy or whatever, but he's trying. He's really trying to make something of himself this time. You have to support him. He's your brother. Don't you care about family? Of course I care, I said, my voice starting to rise. But I'm not going to keep throwing money at him and watching him screw it up. You don't get it. I'm always the one holding everything together, and it's not fair. I'm the one who gets called when things go wrong, not Jake. I'm the one picking up the pieces, and I'm done. You're being selfish, Mark, she said, her voice cracking. You're not even trying to see how hard it is for him. He needs this chance. He's trying to do better. You should be helping him. Helping him. I scoffed. You want me to help him by sinking $20,000 into another one of his schemes? You want me to throw away everything I've worked for? What about me, Mom? Who's helping me? I'm the one who's always responsible. Why does it always fall on me? She didn't respond right away. I could hear her breathing on the other end, probably trying to figure out how to spin it back around to make me feel guilty. Mark, she said quietly, I'm just asking you to think about it. Jake needs you. You're his brother. Family comes first. I wanted to scream at her, tell her that family wasn't about bailing out the irresponsible one every single time they messed up. But instead, I just bit my tongue, closing my eyes and trying to keep my cool. I've thought about it, Mom. I'm not doing it. I've said my piece. I didn't wait for her to respond. I ended the call, tossing the phone onto the couch. I wasn't even surprised anymore by her guilt trips, by how easily she sided with Jake. But it still stung. It always did. I sat there for a long time, fuming. My mind was racing with frustration. Jake always managed to pull me back in, and my parents? They were too blind to see how far gone he was. I'd always been the one to hold it together, but every time I said no, every time I stood my ground, it felt like they just pushed me further away. I needed a way out. I couldn't keep doing this. I didn't want to go to my parents' house, but I had to. I'd left a stack of work documents there after helping Dad with some minor repairs in the garage, and now I needed them to finish a project. I told myself I wasn't going to engage with Jake. I wasn't in the mood to play his game, but I figured I could be in and out without a confrontation. When I walked in, Jake was sprawled out on the couch, one of his expensive headphones in, staring at his phone like the world around him didn't exist. He barely looked up when I walked in. Typical. Hey, I said, grabbing my things from the kitchen counter. He muttered, not even acknowledging me. I shook my head, already irritated. I wasn't sure what bothered me more, his complete indifference or the fact that this had become the norm. I could have asked him if he needed help with anything, but why bother? He wouldn't have asked. He wouldn't have cared. I grabbed the documents, then noticed something out of the corner of my eye. My laptop, my work equipment, was still sitting on the guest room bed. I cursed under my breath. I'd been rushing to get out the other night, distracted by the argument with Mom. I couldn't leave without it. I turned to head toward the guest room, and as I walked down the hallway, I saw Jake standing in the doorway, leaning against the frame with a smirk on his face. Still not going to help me out, huh? He asked, his voice dripping with that same lazy entitlement that had been getting under my skin for years. I stopped, facing him, holding my temper just a little longer. No, Jake, I told you no, I said, my voice steady, though it took everything I had not to snap. You want money for another one of your can't-miss ideas? You're on your own. He looked at me like I was the problem, like I was the one being unreasonable, then let out a huff and took a step closer. Without another word, he grabbed my laptop off the bed, casually tossing it under his arm like it was just some toy. What the hell are you doing? I snapped, my chest tightening. He didn't answer. He just turned and walked out of the room, heading toward the backyard. I stood there frozen for a second, trying to process what was happening. Then I snapped into action, following him. By the time I made it to the back door, he was already standing at the edge of the pool, looking down at the water like he was about to drop something into it. What the hell, Jake? I barked, my voice rising. Don't you dare. But it was too late. He tossed the laptop into the pool without a second thought, watching it sink with a calmness that made my blood boil. Whoops, he said, the smirk still plastered on his face. Guess that was an accident. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My heart raced. My hands were shaking. That was my work laptop, the thing that held everything I needed to do my job, and he just tossed it into the damn pool like it was a joke. Like it didn't matter. Are you kidding me, Jake? I demanded, my voice cutting through the air, low and dangerous. You ruined my fucking laptop. You've crossed a line. Jake didn't even flinch. He just shrugged. It's just a laptop, Mark. Chill out. It's not like it was anything important. That was when I lost it. Not important. That's my livelihood. That's everything I've worked for. You think this is a joke? I was standing there, my hands balled into fists, fighting the urge to just punch him. But before I could say anything else, I heard Dad's voice from behind me. Mark, just calm down, Dad said, walking into the backyard like nothing was wrong. It's just a laptop. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I turned to him, disbelief crashing over me. Dad, just a laptop? Are you serious? Do you have any idea how much work I lost just now? Dad waved me off, like I was the one overreacting. Come on, Mark. It's a piece of equipment. You can replace it. I wanted to scream. I can't just replace everything, Dad. That's not how it works. This is not a small thing. This is my career, my future. Jake was standing there now, looking at me with that same smug expression. I could see in his eyes that he didn't give a damn. I was nothing but a punching bag for him, something to push around when he didn't get his way. Dad looked at me like I was being unreasonable, like I should just let it go. It's just a laptop, he repeated, his tone flat. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The man who'd always preached responsibility to me was standing there, brushing off something this big. You know what? I said, swallowing my anger. Fine, it's just a laptop. I'm done here. I turned to walk out, not even bothering to grab my things. My whole body was shaking. I couldn't stay in that house another second. As I left, I could hear Jake laughing, Dad calling after me to calm down, but none of it mattered. My anger burned through me, but deeper than that was the cold feeling of betrayal. They were never going to get it. I was always going to be the one holding things together while Jake got to do whatever the hell he wanted. I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep doing this. I didn't waste any more time arguing. I didn't have it in me to keep defending myself to my parents. And Jake, he wasn't worth the energy. So, that night, I started making sure things were locked down. I had to think ahead, protect myself from whatever bullshit he was going to try next. First, I changed every password I could think of. My banking accounts, my email, all of the shared streaming services I'd been too lazy to update for months. Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all of it. I made sure my finances were secure, just in case Jake decided to try something else, something worse. I sat at my desk, running through a mental checklist of everything he could mess with. I'd made the mistake of trusting him before, but not again. Not this time. The next morning, when my phone buzzed, I already knew who it was before I even looked at the screen. Jake. Sure enough, his name flashed across the display. Hey, what's up? I answered, trying to keep my voice neutral, not giving him the satisfaction of hearing how pissed off I still was. None of my streaming accounts are working, Jake complained, barely bothering to hide his annoyance. Did you fuck with the passwords again? I didn't even flinch. Yeah, I did. Changed them all. He scoffed. What? You think I'm gonna steal your shit or something? No, I said, my voice calm. I just don't want to keep giving you access to stuff when you can't respect boundaries. His laugh on the other end was almost as condescending as the last time we'd talked. Wow, you really are petty, aren't you? I didn't react. No point in feeding into his game. I was done with playing these emotional battles. I didn't owe him an explanation. Not anymore. Just as I was about to hang up, my phone buzzed again. It was Mom. Mark, she said, her voice strained. Jake's been upset all morning because of what you did. You know that's not fair, right? He doesn't understand why you're punishing him like this. Punishing him. I bit back a sharp laugh. I'm not punishing him. I'm protecting myself. I'm done letting him walk all over me, Mom. Mark, come on, she said, as though I was the one being unreasonable. He's trying. He's trying to turn things around. You're his brother. Family comes first. You should help him out. I took a deep breath, holding back the frustration that was boiling up inside me. I have helped him out, over and over. Every time he messes up, I'm the one who has to fix it. I'm the one left cleaning up his mess. I'm done being the safety net for someone who doesn't give a damn about anyone else. Her voice softened, but it didn't sound sympathetic, more like she was trying to guilt-trip me. Mark, you know Jake's had a rough time. He's not like you. You've always had it together. He's just trying to get things right. He's not trying, Mom, I said, my frustration growing. He's just expecting me to do all the work while he floats through life. And you keep making excuses for him, but you're not seeing the bigger picture here. There was silence on the other end of the line, but I could hear the familiar guilt trip creeping in. I'm just asking you to think about it. Think about what family means. You shouldn't be acting like this. I couldn't believe it. I was trying to protect myself, and she was making me feel like the villain, like I was the one who needed to change. You know what, Mom? I said, my voice quiet but firm. I've thought about it, and I'm done with this. I'm not going to keep giving him my time, my money, my energy, and my sanity just because he's my brother. Family doesn't mean I have to let him walk all over me. I'm done. There was a long pause. Then she sighed, her voice sounding defeated. Okay, Mark, if that's what you want, fine. But don't say I didn't warn you. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I hung up the phone and sat back in my chair, running my fingers through my hair, feeling drained. This had been going on for too long. My parents would never see Jake for what he really was. They'd always choose him over me. But that was fine. I wasn't going to keep fighting them. I wasn't going to waste another second of my life trying to make them see reason. If they were blind to it, then that was their problem. I'd been patient long enough. Now it was time to look out for myself. Time to make sure no one, least of all Jake, could screw with my life again. I had to stop getting caught in their emotional traps. The next move would be mine. A few days later, I was sitting in the middle of a client meeting when my phone buzzed on the table. I usually kept it silent during calls, but the notification caught my eye. It was from my bank. Urgent fraud alert. I didn't panic, but my stomach dropped. I checked the message, my mind racing. Someone had tried to wire a large sum of money from my personal account to another account. And the account? It was under Jake's name. The room around me seemed to blur as the realization hit me like a punch in the gut. The passwords I'd changed a few nights ago, the ones that had been stored on my laptop, the one Jake had ruined, were almost certainly the source of this breach. He'd gotten into my accounts, maybe through that stupid laptop, and now he was trying to steal from me. I could feel my pulse quicken. This wasn't just some careless mistake. This was serious. Jake had crossed a line, and now I was in damage control mode. I excused myself from the meeting, my hands shaking as I dialed the bank. My voice was steady, though every part of me was screaming. Hi, yes, I need to freeze my accounts. There's been an unauthorized attempt to transfer funds to an account I don't recognize. The representative on the other end assured me they would take care of it immediately, but I didn't trust that this was over. Not by a long shot. Once I was off the phone, I sent Jake a text. I kept it short, direct, trying to hold on to some semblance of control. I know what you tried to do. What the hell is wrong with you? I waited for a response, but it didn't come. Not immediately. I kept my phone close, staring at the screen, but it felt like an eternity. I couldn't believe I was even having to deal with this, having to confront my own brother like he was some stranger. Finally, a few hours later, he replied, "You're overreacting. It was a mistake. Chill out." I stared at the message, disbelief creeping in. A mistake? He had just tried to steal a chunk of my savings, and he was calling it a mistake? I didn't even try to argue with him. I knew it wouldn't matter. He'd just deny it, minimize it, twist it around so that somehow I was the one who was wrong. But this time, I wasn't letting it slide. I decided to cover my bases. I called a few friends and colleagues, people I knew would understand the gravity of the situation. I warned them that Jake might try to use my name or credentials to secure money from anyone he could. I didn't know how deep his web of lies ran, but I wasn't about to let him drag me into it. One of my colleagues, Scott, had been in business long enough to know exactly what was going on. "Man, you need to get everything documented," he said when I filled him in. "This isn't just some family squabble anymore. You've got to protect yourself." I wasn't ready to bring legal action into it yet, but Scott was right. I had to make sure I wasn't going to lose everything because of one more of Jake's reckless moves. I started taking notes, saving screenshots, doing everything I could to make sure I had proof. The thought of having to expose Jake to the rest of the family made my stomach churn, but it was clear now. I couldn't keep playing along with his act. As the night dragged on, I couldn't shake the feeling of being cornered. My own brother had tried to take what I'd worked for. I thought back to every conversation I'd had with him, all the times I tried to help or support him, even when I knew he didn't deserve it. And now this, it was like a punch to the gut. Jake didn't see me as a brother anymore. He saw me as a resource. I dropped my phone on the table, rubbing my temples, trying to force the anger out of my mind long enough to think clearly. It wasn't just the money that hurt. It was the betrayal. The fact that he'd used my trust and my own hard work to line his pockets. I had to keep my head on straight. I had to keep going. I couldn't let him destroy everything I'd built, even if it meant going up against him. I couldn't trust anyone in my family to help me. They'd never see it from my side. It was up to me to protect what was mine. And Jake, he was going to regret this. The first message came through as a screenshot sent by a friend of mine from the neighborhood who had been in the same family group chat. I stared at it for a second, the words in front of me making my blood run cold. It was from Jake, of course, whining about me again, but this time, he'd really gone off the deep end. He'd painted me as some heartless asshole, accusing me of holding grudges over a simple accident. He'd conveniently left out the fact that he'd just tried to steal from me. That little bastard had turned the whole thing on its head. "Mark's always been so selfish," he'd written. "He's never been able to get over something small like a misunderstanding." And there it was. He was portraying me as the villain. Again, his narrative was that I was the one who couldn't let things go, that I was just too rigid and cold to see how hard he was trying. I could see how it was working too. Aunt Linda had chimed in, calling me difficult, and my cousin Tim was backing him up, saying that I was too hard on Jake, that family is supposed to help each other. It was like watching a slow-motion train wreck. I felt my chest tighten, anger building inside me like I might actually explode. I wanted to jump in, reply, set the record straight, but I knew better. If I fed into it now, I'd only look like I was losing control. Jake wanted me to get angry. He wanted me to react, but I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. I tossed my phone on the table and took a breath, pushing the rage down. I didn't need to argue with anyone in that group chat. Instead, I focused on what I had to do next. I wasn't going to let Jake get away with this. For the next few days, I went quiet. I kept my head down, collected my thoughts, and started to gather every bit of evidence I could find. I went through emails, old messages, anything that might show the full extent of Jake's manipulation. I dug deep into the mess he'd made and began to connect the dots. I found an old email where Jake had tried to convince a business partner of mine that he and I were working together on a proposal. It was clear he'd been using my name to gain credibility, promising things I had no part in. I couldn't believe it. He'd been doing this behind my back, using me like some pawn in his schemes. I saved every screenshot, printed out the emails, cataloged them like a cold, methodical hitman planning his next move. Jake had underestimated me. I wasn't going to let him manipulate the narrative any longer. While I was working through the details, I started getting messages from some of my family members. Aunt Linda, Tim, a couple of cousins. Every single one of them had heard Jake's side of things. And, of course, they all had the same message for me. "You need to forgive him," they said. "You're being too harsh, Mark. He's really trying. Family comes first." It was like they were reading from a script. All I could think was how easily they'd been brainwashed by Jake's story. They'd all been conditioned to side with him. None of them had the balls to question his actions, to see the damage he'd caused. All they saw was the version of Jake that he fed them. The misunderstood guy trying to get by, the one who couldn't catch a break. I didn't respond to any of them. I didn't need to. The only thing I needed to focus on was getting the truth out, on my terms, and not letting Jake control the narrative anymore. As the days passed, I started feeling the weight of what was coming. I knew it was inevitable. There was no way I was going to walk away from this without exposing him for what he was. But I couldn't let the anger blind me. I had to stay calm, stay calculated. It was the only way I'd win. I thought about what it was going to take. I was going to have to go public with everything, expose Jake for what he'd been doing. He wouldn't be able to talk his way out of this one. The family might not believe me now, but when the proof was laid out in front of them, they wouldn't have a choice. I wasn't just fighting for my money anymore. I was fighting for my name, my reputation, my dignity. And Jake, he was going to find out the hard way that he couldn't screw me over without consequences. I spent the next few days making sure every piece of evidence I had was locked down and ready. I knew I needed to go beyond just my family's group chat and some emails. I needed solid, undeniable proof that Jake had been using my name to get ahead. And that's when I thought of Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison had been a potential business partner of mine a few years ago. We'd talked about a project together, but things fell through when I realized that Jake had been working on some of the same proposals under the guise of collaboration. I didn't think much of it at the time, until I started looking back and connecting the dots. It turned out, Jake had lied to Harrison about my involvement in those projects. He'd told Harrison that I was a silent partner, promising things I had never agreed to. I contacted Mr. Harrison, hoping to confirm my suspicions. "Mark, it's been a while," he said when he picked up the phone. "What's going on?" "I need to ask you about Jake," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "I found out some things, and I need to know what he's told you." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Harrison sighed. "Jake, he said you were part of a new venture. A big one. He told me you were going to be a silent partner, and that we'd need your name for credibility." That hit me hard, hearing it out loud. I wasn't surprised, but the betrayal still stung. "That's a lie," I said, my voice tight. "I've never agreed to anything like that. He's been using my name to get funding and build his reputation, and I'm not okay with it." There was another long pause. Harrison wasn't stupid. He knew something wasn't adding up. "You're saying he's been lying about you being involved? Using your name without permission?" "Exactly," I confirmed. "And I need proof. Can you send me whatever documents he gave you?" A few hours later, I had what I needed. Harrison emailed me a copy of the fraudulent business proposal Jake had sent him, including a section where my name was listed as a silent partner. My stomach turned as I read through it. Jake had forged my involvement in a project that wasn't even on my radar. It was time to act. I didn't hesitate. I drafted a cease and desist letter, carefully worded but direct. It was clear, it was professional, and most importantly, it was my final warning. If Jake didn't stop using my name to manipulate people, I was going to take legal action. I attached copies of the fraudulent documents Harrison had sent me, along with the emails that proved Jake's lies. I hit send. I knew Jake would fight it. He'd probably try to gaslight me again, tell me I was wrong, that it was all a misunderstanding. But the thing about being prepared was that I could back up every word, every accusation. I wasn't going to let him twist this around. I felt a sense of calm settle over me as I sat back and stared at the screen. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was in control. Jake had pushed me too far, and now the consequences were coming. I wasn't going to wait around for him to react. I had already contacted my lawyer, just in case things escalated. I wasn't making any more empty threats. This was real now. And if Jake thought he could get away with using me, my name, and my reputation as a pawn in his games, he was about to find out just how wrong he was. It was time to make sure everyone saw who Jake really was. I didn't waste any time. Once I'd sent Jake the cease and desist letter, I knew it wasn't enough. I couldn't let him think he could just slither away from this. The investors he'd been pitching to, those were the ones who had to see the truth. They needed to know that he was using my name to manipulate his way into legitimacy. So, I made a calculated decision. I emailed the fraudulent business proposal and all the evidence I had, screenshots, emails, the documents from Mr. Harrison, straight to every single investor Jake had approached. I didn't sugarcoat anything. No personal comments. I didn't need to. The documents spoke for themselves. I simply attached them with a clear, straightforward message. I am not involved in any of Jake's ventures. He has misused my name without my consent, and the business proposal he presented to you is fraudulent. Please consider this clarification regarding my non-involvement. That was it. I didn't need to say anything else. The facts were in black and white, and Jake couldn't talk his way out of this one. I let the emails sit in the world, knowing that the damage was done. I didn't have to watch Jake's downfall in real time, but I couldn't help myself. I checked my phone obsessively over the next few days, waiting for the inevitable fallout. And it didn't take long. One by one, the investors began to pull out. I could see the notifications from their investment firm accounts. Withdrawal request. Investment canceled. Partnership terminated. The emails came through faster than I could read them. His business partner, who had been backing him for months, sent a terse email that said, "We can no longer proceed with this partnership. Our company cannot be associated with these actions." It was happening. Jake's entire house of cards was coming down. The reputation he'd spent years building, using my name and countless lies, was starting to crumble. I felt a sick sense of satisfaction, but I wasn't about to gloat. I played the long game, and now it was his turn to pay the price. A few days later, the calls started coming in. Some family members, the ones who hadn't fully bought into Jake's story yet, were reaching out. Aunt Linda was the first. "Mark," she said, her voice shaky. I just saw everything. The emails, the proposal. Jake, he's been lying about you." I didn't mince words. "Yeah, Aunt Linda. He's been using my name to scam people, and I had to stop him. I don't know what to say. He's been telling us that you were just mad at him for some mistake. But this, I never knew it was this serious." I didn't want her pity, but I appreciated that she was finally seeing the truth. "It's not just about me, Aunt Linda. He's been doing this to a lot of people. It's about stopping him from using me and everyone else to prop up his failed schemes." She paused for a long time. "I think you're right. I'll talk to the others. I'll make sure they see what he's really been doing." I could hear the wheels turning in her head. I didn't expect everyone to come around immediately, but I knew this was the moment where the tide could start to shift. I wasn't going to be the one to keep chasing after them. The truth was out now, and the rest was up to them. The next call came from Tim, my cousin. He'd been one of the people backing Jake up in the group chat. He didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Mark, I've seen it now. All the documents. I can't believe it. I didn't know it was like that." "I know you didn't, Tim. I'm not surprised you didn't." My tone was matter of fact. Jake's been playing everyone, making himself look like the victim. But this is the real him. I get it now. I'm sorry for not believing you. I was tired of hearing apologies. I wasn't out here for validation anymore. I was out here to make sure Jake couldn't do this to anyone else. I was done with family who turned a blind eye. But I kept it civil. "It's fine. Just make sure the rest of the family sees it. They need to know who Jake really is." It felt like one small victory after another. One by one, people were starting to open their eyes. Jake couldn't keep his story straight anymore, not with all the evidence laid out in front of him. His lies were catching up with him fast, and he was too arrogant to realize how much damage he'd caused until it was too late. As the week went on, I could feel the tension in the air, the way people were starting to whisper about Jake behind his back, how his name was being dragged through the mud. I wasn't going to be the one to do the dirty work of exposing him to the rest of the family. He'd already done that to himself. I watched from the sidelines, feeling a grim sense of satisfaction as I let the fallout play out. It wasn't over yet, but it was coming, and it was a long time coming. Jake had always been the golden boy, the one who got away with everything, but not anymore. Now, it was my turn to stand back and let the consequences do the talking. It wasn't long before I got the call. My mom's voice, shaky and tight, came through the phone. "Mark, please," she pleaded. "You need to fix things with Jake. He's really struggling, and he needs you right now." I could hear the desperation in her tone, the same one she always used when she wanted me to be the bigger person. But this time, I wasn't backing down. "I'm not going to fix things with Jake, Mom," I said, my voice firm. "You have no idea what he's done. He's been using me, lying to people, and now he's trying to ruin everything I've worked for. You still can't see that, can you?" There was a long silence before she spoke again, her words slow and careful. "Jake's trying to turn things around. He's been through a lot, Mark. He just wants a chance. Please, he's your brother. You should be helping him." "Helping him?" I nearly laughed. "What? By bailing him out again? Every time he screws up, I'm the one who's expected to fix it. I'm the one who has to deal with the fallout while he keeps playing the victim." I could hear my father's voice in the background, low and calm. "Mark, just let it go. You don't know the whole story." "Oh, I know the whole story." I shot back, the anger I'd been holding back breaking through. "I know exactly what's been going on. I know about the fraudulent business proposals, the fake partnerships, the way he's been using my name to scam people. I have the proof, Dad. Do you want to see it?" The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. My mom didn't know how to respond, and Dad's refusal to believe any of it was starting to infuriate me. But I didn't give them the chance to ignore it. "I've got emails, bank records, everything," I said. "Jake's been lying about me to investors. to family, to anyone he could. I'm done being the fall guy for him. You need to stop enabling him. Finally, my dad spoke, his tone colder than I'd ever heard it. You're making a mistake, Mark. Family sticks together. You should have forgiven him by now. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I have forgiven him, I said, the bitterness choking my words. I've spent years covering for him, but this goes too far. I'm not your scapegoat anymore. The conversation didn't go anywhere after that. They were too entrenched in their denial, too busy protecting Jake to see the truth. They'd made their choice, and it wasn't me. Later that week, I ran into Jake by chance at a coffee shop. He looked different. Gone was the smug arrogance, the sense of entitlement. He was slouched in a chair, staring at his phone like he couldn't bear to look up. When he saw me, he didn't say anything at first. I stood there for a moment, letting the silence hang between us, before speaking. You done with your con yet? Jake shifted uncomfortably, his eyes avoiding mine. You don't understand, Mark. Things got out of hand. I was just trying to make something of myself. You were trying to use me to make something of yourself? I said, keeping my voice steady. You don't get to do that anymore. You're on your own. He didn't argue. Instead, he just nodded, a small, defeated movement, and looked away. That was the last time I would ever have to listen to his excuses. I walked out of that coffee shop feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Closure. It was over. I didn't need to fight anymore. Jake's downfall wasn't something I orchestrated. It was inevitable, and I knew that. In the end, my silence had been the most powerful thing I could do. It was his own lies, his own manipulation, that had brought him to this point. I didn't feel satisfaction exactly. I felt something quieter, something that came from knowing I had finally done what was right for myself. I'd stopped being the one to clean up his mess, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free.